Hey to all Metal Maniacs and welcome to another episode on Einhord channel. Continuing with the video I did last week with regards to the cultural aspects of heavy metal subculture, today I will be focusing on one of the most important characteristics of the subculture, and I'm referring to the ritual of live performances. Now, live performances, the way I see it, are the essence of heavy metal, the fulcrum on which the whole experience rests. That one moment when all the components of the subculture come together as one, basically. Obviously, there are many different settings where this kind of ritual takes place, be it big festivals, small fest, or even just a club gig. All of these have their pros and cons, so I will delve a bit into the subject and say what are the things I like and dislike about each setting. So is your pint ready? Mine is. Let's go. Welcome back and thanks for joining us again for this video. If you're new here, the aim of this channel is to review albums, festivals, suggest bands, delve in the cultural aspect of heavy metal and more. So if you're interested in this content, please consider subscribing to this channel, liking and sharing our videos on social media. So I'm sure that most of you watching this video and who appreciate heavy metal music have at least once, I hope more, attended a live music event in your life. And you would agree with me when I say that the experience of live music is much more powerful, much more intimate than whatever experience you can have by listening to a band through a physical format and more so through a digital format. But as I said, not all settings offer the same experience. Some take place in a small club with 100 people and others in an outdoor area of 80,000 attendees. Is it the same experience? Is one better than the other, or less or more powerful than the other? Over the years I have visited numerous festivals and attended a big number of club gigs, but in reality I have attended very few big festivals. Actually, the biggest I attended was Barcelona Rockfest a few years back, and that had around 20,000 attendees if I remember correctly. But I also attended a couple of stadium arena concerts as well, and will be taking them into consideration, as well as they have a lot in common with the big festivals. First of all, my idea of heavy metal is that one of the most important factors in having a successful live event is the feeling of brotherhood that there must be in that particular setting. One of the very first fests I attended abroad was a small doom metal event in Germany called Doom Shall Rise, and this festival kind of laid the blueprint for us of how a proper small fest with this brotherhood feeling should be shaped. In fact, when we started the Malta Doom Metal Festival, the DSR Fest was used as a marker for us of how things should be done in order to create this whole package together with the bands and the attendees. Over the years I have found myself in front rows headbanging, singing along, raising fists with other metalheads who were at the time complete strangers to me. This example shows very well that for something like this to happen there must be that sense of brotherhood, that sense that in a certain place you will find like-minded individuals. It is like leaving your daily life and entering a parallel dimension in which you feel more comfortable. Now, I have always felt that the bigger the attendance, the more this feeling of brotherhood diminishes. Because to me it feels like each and every attendee becomes somewhat as just a number. You are one of the many instead of being one of the few. We generally strive on quality over quantity, but this ends up also becoming sometimes a disadvantage on certain occasions as well. In the sense that how are you going to see the bigger legendary bands if not in these bigger settings? And shouting and singing along with 50,000 other metalheads, isn't it supposed to be more powerful and liberating than doing so with 100 other people? For me it is a yes and a no, and I will say why. I remember when I watched Judas Priest, Black Sabbath or Iron Maiden. By the way, for me this is the holy trinity of heavy metal, these three bands. When I saw them live in concert, they sang the lyrics, watched some of my all-time favorite musicians a few meters away from me. Well, quite a number of meters, because even from the barrier to the actual stage there was quite a distance, let alone us who weren't exactly near the barrier. Still, there was kind of something missing. After the show I was satisfied, but I kind of didn't feel the same adrenaline rush as in smaller settings. I mean, you had to line up for the entrance hours before, merch which was priced at a double or even triple the usual prices for a shirt or a vinyl or a CD. Once you find a good spot and take your position, you say, okay, this is the good place. You notice that your lips are starting to dry and you would want a cold one, and you end up looking for a bar and then seeing it like hundreds of meters away, and you have to pass through all the people, go to the bar, and then the difficulty is to find your spot again where basically where you were before. I mean, you can do this once or twice, but after a while you've had enough, at least for myself. In the end, everything feels so formal, so constructed, so business oriented. It is like a bittersweet aftertaste, even though the bands you'll get to see are generally of a legendary status. Big fests like these concerts, arena shows generally have the same issues, and most of the time, since they are held in a bigger area, there is a lot of walking involved to reach the stage areas. Obviously, if you consider doing this for 2 or 3 days over and over again, it becomes tiring, because it's not a problem to walk the necessary amount to reach the festival area. I mean, it's part of the fun as well, but to do it day after day and after hours on standing on your feet to watch the bands, people pushing on you, after a while, at least to me, it becomes too tiring, and basically all the people I start seeing around me become a nuisance. But on the other hand, they have the added bonus that the occasion feels like a big village feast with different stalls of food and beer gardens. Various activities are being held around the whole area, with plenty of things to diversify your day and occupy your time when there are no bands of interest playing at the time. Some of these fests offer camping areas where the party can continue or start in the early and very late hours of the day. Medium to smaller fests are generally on the same wavelength, but everything obviously is on a smaller scale. What they have better though is they still incorporate the positives from the bigger fest, but on most occasions they eliminate the negatives. A smaller setting generally means that even if you are not in the front rows, you will quite possibly get a good view of the band playing, whilst also getting a pint every now and then without having to pass through a myriad of people and then easily go back to viewing the band which is playing. These smaller settings also mean that you will tend to find the same metalheads you would find in other small fests, and therefore kind of create this network of friends, and then these fests actually become kind of a reunion of friends from all over the world year after year. Not to mention the lineup of bands, as I have already mentioned. The bigger festivals, concerts have the bigger names which you have to see at least once in your life, but they would also have a number of mainstream metal bands which are of no interest to me personally. The smaller fests, on the other hand, cater for that niche crowd, and since I love and adore a lot of underground bands just as much as the bigger names, then the smaller fests tend to offer me a better lineup. So the bigger fests have the big names and the overall feel of a big feast going on, but also a lot of negatives, as I have mentioned. The smaller fests offer me the feel of the big fests in a smaller size, with generally a more focused lineup and an overall a better one for me. So where does this leave the club gigs? I think the club gigs are a whole different aspect. They are not spread over 2 or 3 whole days, but concentrated on the time span of a few hours. They generally don't include barriers and long queues. The beauty of these small shows is that generally they involve 3 or 4 bands, and you can unleash all your energy with these bands. Everything feels so intimate and so concentrated. On most occasions you can stretch your hand basically and touch the musicians on stage. This kind of experience really diminishes, if not outright removes, the distance between the musician and the fans. It's like they become one, and for me personally, this is why my preferred way of enjoying live music is during club gigs. It is what heavy metal is all about, that is from the fans to the fans. No rockstar stages, no us and them, but the enjoyment of music in unison with both bands and fans. This is the true origin of heavy metal, and for me this has remained the proper place where to relive these sentiments over and over again. Nothing against smaller fests, as in certain occasions these ingredients that I have just mentioned can be felt in such a setting as well. Not the same can be said to the bigger festivals and concerts, where the situation is that on most occasions the segregation between fan and band is so big that it feels like it's just a job for the band and another band to tick off the list for the fans, just to say that I have seen that band. But have you really lived that live performance with the band? Did you feel captured and really part of that performance? So all in all, the smaller settings are my preferred choices with regards to live music. They encapsulate all that is great about heavy metal and live music. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Do you agree with me or have something more to add? Which were your favorite shows, fests, gigs, etc.? Let's start reliving these moments now that most of the live music is on hold. And I guess that is all for this video. I'll be linking some of my favorite festivals in the description below, so check them out accordingly. These are some of the t-shirts I bought from those fests. Kind of brings back those memories I lived during these fests and the people I met, and that is why, again, why these small fests and club gigs are so good, because the people you meet, you keep remembering them because you shared something special to you, and most probably it was special to them as well. The bigger fests don't give me this kind of feeling. Some festivals which I'm linking in the description below I still have to attend, but I know from the comments of like-minded people who attended there, they have the same kind of ethos which I search for in such an event. So I have basically blind faith that these festivals are good to suggest. A gentle reminder to subscribe, click on the bell so that you are notified when we post a new video, like and share this video on social media as well. There are affiliate links in the video descriptions as well, for which we get a small commission at no extra expense for you. Nothing left for me to add. Stay safe and metal on. Cheers.